She saved a life, but that decision nearly cost her own. It was an apparently normal day. The sun shone through the leaves, and the wind whispered among the branches. The bee buzzed happily, collecting pollen, unaware that at that very moment her life was about to change forever. Then she heard a small cry for help coming from a nearby mud pit. Curious and concerned, she flew over and found the ant. Desperate, trapped in the mud, sinking with every movement, barely strong enough to save herself. Without thinking twice, the bee plunged into the mud, risking her wings and her own body. She struggled against the sticky muck, using all her strength to pull the ant out. Finally, she succeeded. The ant trembled, covered in dirt, and the bee carefully cleaned each tiny leg, each antenna, making sure she was unharmed. Then she carried her, flying to her little home, a safe corner among flowers and leaves. Upon arrival, the bee offered fresh honey, collected the previous morning, clean water, and a warm, cozy spot for the ant to recover. They spent hours together, talking, or rather in silence, but there was a sense of relief in the air. The ant rested, regained her strength, and the bee felt a mixture of satisfaction and tenderness. She had done the right thing. But, as often happens, kindness meets an unexpected enemy. The next morning, while the bee was still organizing her honey stash, she noticed something was different. The ant seemed more curious than grateful. Her eyes, once full of fear and relief, now shone strangely. Curiosity? Perhaps. But there was something more. Without the bee noticing, the ant discovered the honey storage, the most precious place in the bee's home. And her eyes glimmered, not with gratitude but with greed. "All of this should be mine," seemed to whisper, every speck of light reflecting off her antennae. The bee shivered slightly, but she couldn't believe that such a gesture of kindness could turn so dangerous. Night fell, bringing with it the forest's dark silence. The bee was about to sleep when she heard a faint noise coming from the honey stash, an almost imperceptible creak. "Who's there?" she called, her voice trembling yet firm. Silence. Only the wind and the rustling leaves. Suddenly, a precise sting. The pain was intense, burning, and the bee fell to the ground. Even feeling the venom spread through her body, she managed to open her eyes and see who had attacked her. The same eyes she had saved moments ago now reflected cruelty, coldness, and betrayal. The ant, small but fierce, smiled as she carried off the honey, leaving behind only pain and venom in the bee's heart. The bee whispered, with the last strength she had left, "Why?" But the ant had already disappeared into the shadows, taking everything she could and leaving only the bitter lesson. Moral of the story: the worst pain is not the sting. It's not the venom coursing through your veins. The worst pain is realizing that you yourself handed the knife to the one you helped, the one you trusted. It's understanding that kindness, when misunderstood or exploited, can turn against you. And you? Have you ever felt the weight of such a betrayal? Have you ever extended your hand to someone only to find deceit instead of gratitude? The story of the bee and the ant reminds us that life is full of choices, and every act of kindness must be accompanied by attention and discernment. Yet we should not become cold or overly suspicious, only wiser. Because in the end, true kindness is not measured by what we receive, but by what we are willing to give, even knowing there is a risk of pain.